Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another segment of Winning Wednesday here at Birmingham Bible Church. We are so excited and so elated that you have decided to join us here on today. Of course, our aim and our goal is to make sure that you know that you are a winner. In every area of your life, you are a winner. So we know that if you win, we all can win. And so that's what we're trying to do here on our Winning Wednesday at 12 noon. So listen, we need you to do a couple of things. We want you to share this broadcast with someone. We want you to make sure you tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, because we are discussing a much needed topic. A lot of you know that this month is Domestic Violence Month. Of course, there's a lot of national awareness that's going on this particular month, but today we want to tackle the subject of domestic violence. And of course, during this month, people want to educate you, want to raise the awareness, and also bring support and strength to those who are victims. And so, whether you know it or not, domestic violence is real. No matter what you've been told, it is real. Either you know someone who has experienced it, maybe there is someone around you who is experiencing it, but you just don't know it. There are little subtle signs. And so we have two people that are going to talk about this on today. I'm even thinking about in our society how even the latest person, Miss Gabby, of course, that's the one that's nationally known. There are others that have came across the news feed, but she was killed. Of course, they're suspecting domestic violence, foul play. And so that investigation is going forth. But it just goes to show you that it is prevalent in our society. And so we have two people who are going to talk about this much needed topic. Miss Alexandria Mees is part of the YWCA. She's been with us before. She also has a personal testimony of being a domestic violence survivor. And then Miss Lashundra Glenn, she has been with us on numerous occasions when we were in person, and she's also going to talk about her experience of being a domestic violence survivor. And so, if you have younger children who are present, viewer discretion is advised. So you may want to not have them look at this particular content because it may not be conducive for our really young viewers. So just want to go ahead and put that disclaimer out there. So listen, without further ado, we have Miss Lashundra and also Miss Alexandra. Hello, ladies. How are y'all?
Hello, good
Well,
morning.
Good
Well, it's
morning.
afternoon now.
good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon. Glad to have you all. Thank y'all so much for doing this and just helping us raise the awareness of domestic violence and just all the information. I want you to just be transparent. Of course, go ahead and talk about your experiences and talk about those things that are needed for us to know about. So, Miss Alexandra, I'm going to give way to you first.
Okay, great. Thank you. I can't say enough for what this church does to make sure the listeners, the viewers are able to always hear something great on a Wednesday, but definitely thankful for the opportunity to share about domestic violence. We know this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. However, domestic violence happens 365 days a year. Every month, this is happening in our communities. And it's, we think we came through a pandemic or an epidemic, but the truth is domestic violence is a epidemic that not only our nation, but the world suffers with. And unfortunately, oftentimes our victims, they suffer in silence because they do believe that they are by themselves. They believe that there is no one who understands what they're going through or believe that anyone is going to help them in what is happening in their households. I think it's important for us to remember exactly what domestic violence is. I think it's not understood. It is definitely one of those things that's really not understood. Traditionally, you will hear people say domestic violence has to be physical, or the only way that you can prove that it's domestic violence is if it is physical. But the truth is not. The truth is there are many cases where domestic violence, or what we identify as intimate partner violence, it happens and it starts first emotionally. It starts mentally. And it's a pattern that's established between and I'm going to say the perpetrator in this case, the perpetrator, and I'll usually use male because we have a higher percentage of females that report domestic violence. But this person is attempting to gain and maintain control of this person and the relationship. And what we normally see is it moves from it being emotional and mental, maybe even verbal, and it moves into physical. There are some cases where we have individuals who said that they've never experienced physical, but it doesn't mean that that intimate partner balance isn't happening. That abuse isn't happening. It is still happening. And it can look different ways. So for example, someone who doesn't have access to income, perhaps maybe they are not employed and the abuser that's in the home is the sole provider, or either maybe this person does work, the victim does work. And unfortunately, you have the abuser who uses all of the funds, who uses all the gas money, uses all of the bill money, and the victim is unable to provide for the household in the way that she needs to. Of course, we hear about the verbal all the time, but the put downs, calling the individual out of their name, making them feel bad about the way that they look, and that's playing on that emotional state of that person. I like to make reference to gaslighting because it happens quite often. You will hear victims and survivors say, I felt like I was going crazy. And it will be because that abuser begins to, I would say, like manipulate the situation. A good example that I give sometimes is going out of the room, changing something in the room, and then asking the victim, well, why did you put that there? And the victim knows that they didn't put it there. And they'll say, oh, I didn't do that. Well, yes, you did, because I saw you do that. But several different situations like that happening over a course of time may have that victim feeling like they are literally losing their mind. And so what they will then do is maybe even seek psychiatric care. And believe me, that's going to be another tool that will be used by that abuser, saying, well, she has a mental health concern. She has a mental health issue. And maybe a tool that they use if there are children involved as to why that victim should not have custody of their children. And of course, at home, that victim is going to hear, well, you're an unfit mother. You're not capable of taking care of the children. And of course, that brings on a cycle of depression, anxiety, just so many things that follow suit. But what I need for, everyone to understand is domestic violence, like First Lady Mason said, is real. It is something that continues to happen day after day. It doesn't always look the same for each victim, each survivor. It does not. And it is not always physical. However, when it is physical, we know that can be very detrimental to everyone that is involved. If there is a gun present, if there's a gun present in the household, the percentage of the risk of homicide jumps to 500%, which is huge. 500%. 500%. Let that sink in. And I always like to tell people, if a gun is there, likely somebody's going to die. And unfortunately, depending on whose hand the gun is in, will determine, what happens. But we don't want anyone to have a loss of life. We want everyone to be healthy. We want everyone to be able to provide and support their families, make good decisions for their families. And the only way that we can do that when we know that we have intimate partner violence is we got to put a spoke, we got to stick a wheel, something in that wheel to stop it from going. And the only way to do that is to bring awareness, is for us to educate not only ourselves, but even educate our children about what is considered to be healthy, what's considered to be healthy relationships. And if you as an adult don't know, maybe you question the experiences that you had growing up, then reach out to individuals or organizations who can help with that. I am now the program manager at the YWCA. And that is one of the things that we do in our programs with domestic violence is go out and we talk to organizations, churches, we go into the school systems, and we have programs with the children so that they can understand what healthy relationships are, but seek the assistance that you need if you've got a question about it. But I thank this church for allowing this space at this time. And I love that today we brought on Lashundra Glenn, who is, we've worked with her before several occasions. And she definitely has a story. And I'll just kind of give you a short version of mine. Is basically in my household, my family, it was generational. I could see it on both sides of the family. It was generational. And at some point, me recognizing where I was, it was like, okay, wait a minute, something's got to change. This isn't safe. This is not safe for me. This is not safe for my children. And I was empowered enough and had the support that I needed so that I could move from that space. And I recognize everyone does not have that, or at least they may not have it with their family. But if you're listening, if you see this, know that you do have some support. Family doesn't always look like, family that comes from your bloodline. There are a family of supporters out there that can help people who are experiencing domestic violence, and we want to be there for our family. But I'm thankful to have Lashundra, and we're going to kind of walk you through some of her experience, and hopefully she can share her story and share how she has been able to be resilient in this time and be a successful mother also to her children. So Lashundra, if you would can you just tell us in general about yourself? You don't have to get into the details of the story right now, but just can you tell us just in general about yourself?
Okay. My name is Lashundra Glenn. I am a mother of four. I went to Carver High School. I went to Alabama A&M, and I received an associate degree at Jeff State. Um, I have two kids in college and two kids in high school. I'm 46 years old. I currently work as a substitute teacher in the Birmingham City Schools. I'm a track coach. I coach the girls' track team at Hudson K8. Um, that's pretty much it.
Which right. Okay. And so you mentioned that you were a track coach. So did you run track when you were in school?
I did. I ran track in my senior year. We won the state um, track meet, and they actually just recognized us at the homecoming game on last Friday at Carver.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I want to kind of like take you back a little bit, take you back to when you first met your ex-husband. So do you remember how you met? What the first how that relationship was like? What you laughing like? Oh, I remember.
Right. So I do remember I did meet him at the barber shop.
Mhm.
I took my son in, but he didn't cut his hair. Someone else was cutting his hair, and I thought he was very nice looking or whatever. I really don't remember how we actually connected. Honestly, mm, I don't know.
But once you all did
Um,
connect, what was dating like for you with him?
so, um, everything was okay at first. Um, it moved quickly. I can say that everything moved really quickly. I
Mm-hmm.
think I met him like in May 2005, and I think we ended up getting married because he moved in maybe a month or so later. So
Mm-hmm.
um, he was like, "Well, we need to go and get married, so we won't be living in sin or whatever." So I was like, "Okay."
Mm.
So I think we ended up getting married that August in 2005.
Right. So dating like in May, a month later, moving in together,
Right. Yeah.
and
It
then we need to get married because we're shagging up living in sin.
yeah. Yeah.
And so then we're married in August. So between May and August, that was the extent of, I would say, like the courtship.
Yes.
That was like the courtship. Okay.
Yes.
And then you got, at what point though did things in the relationship seem to change?
So maybe like almost a year later, um, I started noticing different patterns where you staying out all the time, and I get home from work. He end up having uh, hip replacement, so he couldn't cut hair, and he was on disability, so he was at home with the girls, um, and I would go to work. But as soon as I come in from work, he leaves and be gone. Over the course of the time, I think I just because he would when he would drink when he drink liquor, he just be a different person. And at that point, I really started getting tired, and I was like, I don't think I want this. You know, I think the children had a little fear of him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his children, I think they had a little fear of him too. He was very, very dominant. And like I said, he started staying out, and it had got to the point where I didn't even care about him staying out. I just didn't want him around me at the time. It got to the point, it was like I was walking on eggshells in my own house, you know.
So why were you having to walk on eggshells? What exactly was he doing, or what was he saying that you were having
So
to walk on eggshells?
it was like nothing satisfied him or made him happy, or
Mm-hmm.
he was like always upset for some reason, or anything will cause an argument, and he be done things, and I'm apologizing for it. I'm like, just to try to keep the peace, you know. Um,
So you said that he would have done something, but you apologized as if you had done it.
hmm
But were there also times perhaps where he blamed you for something that happened in the house or what happened with him? Were you ever blamed for any of that?
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember him blaming me for anything.
Okay. And was he
Um,
ever physical? Was he ever physical with you?
no,
No, he
mm,
wasn't physical
he wasn't physical until that night.
until a particular night.
hmm
And so since you mentioned that, you want to share about this one particular night where up until now you had not experienced physical violence.
Right.
You had not experienced. So how long had you all been together before you had experienced the physical violence?
Everything happened that night. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
But as far as when you met him, from the point that
Mhm.
you met him up until the physical violence,
Oh,
how
that was
long was that?
that was like 2 years.
2 years.
hmm
Okay.
That was
And
like
so from what you're sharing, obviously it sounded like there may have been emotional, mental abuse going on for that period of time. No physical.
no. Now he would get mad and punch the walls or something,
Mm-hmm.
and me not knowing what domestic violence looking like, I'm thinking like everybody else is just physical. I'm like, okay, you can hit the wall
Mm-hmm.
as long as you don't touch me, you know. But there was times where isolation was taking place. Now that I know what it is, I can reflect back and see
Okay.
um, he was trying to put a wedge between me and my mom, isolate us. Uh,
Mm.
yeah. He didn't really go nowhere with us. Um, of course, I always had all the kids, mines and his. I think that some of his came to live with us. Um, he was jealous of that relationship. He was jealous of the relationship with my kids. I assume, because he made a statement. Uh, my older two was going to a private school, and of course, they was always on the honor roll. And he made the statement one time. Well, let's see um, if they go to another school, how they'll do. I'm like, what is that to say? You know?
Right. Right. So you mentioned some more things that you felt like you hadn't been exposed to before or you weren't familiar with. You talked about isolation, the separation between you and your mother, jealousy that he apparently had with the relationship that you had with your mother as well as with your children
Yeah.
as well. Okay, and so here now, this particular night happens. Here we are,
Mhm.
2 years later. This night happens. So what happened on this particular night?
Okay. Let me add this before I go into that.
Okay.
Like I said, I was the one that was working.
Mm-hmm.
So one particular time, he was like, "I'm finna go flip the money,"
Mm.
but you came back with the same thing.
Okay.
He would check the he had started checking the trip button on the car when I left. So when I realized he was doing that, every time I pulled back up, I reset the trip button on the car.
Okay.
You know.
He's tracking your whereabouts or your
Mm-hmm.
distance, trying to
Mm-hmm.
see where you were going.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular night, December the 9th, 2007, um, he was gone that entire day. We only had one car. He was gone that entire day. So when he called the house, we didn't have cell phones. When he called the house, I told him I was going over my friend's house because I always went over their house. You know, they celebrate their mom and dad birthday around the time that it happened. So her cousin had came and picked me up, and we went over there. And I was over there for some reason. Every time I went over there, he thought I was cheating, but found out he was cheating. You know. Um, So we were over there. I think it was about, I can't remember exactly what time it was, but I called the house and my mom had told me, she was like, since you going out, he's gonna come in early. So I called the house and sure enough he answered the phone. He was like, "Where you at?" I said, "I told you where I was going." Well, what you doing over there? I said, "I told you they was having a get together for their parent, you know." So we hung up the phone and he started 69 the phone back and the number back and called back. And he was like, "Don't come home." I said, "I can come home because it's my house." But me not thinking nothing. I knew well, I ain't gonna tell. Me not thinking nothing of it, but I came home. My friends brought me home. So he told me he was gonna leave, and I said, "Okay." I don't know if that may have triggered something, because at that point I'm just tired. I just
Mm-hmm.
I'm just tired. He was on probation, and I know it was ugly, but I'm not gonna tell no lie. I used to pray he got caught with the gun or something to just get him away from me,
Right.
because I was thinking, well, if I put him out, where he gonna go, you know. So I came on home and he was here. He was sitting in the car. The car's back in the yard, and I'm like, We finna argue, you know. That's all I'm thinking. We're about to argue. So I came in the house. It took him a minute before he came in. Um, I believe he was waiting till my friend them got out of sight. But he came in and he started an argument with me about her truck. He's like, didn't that truck pass by him? I was like, no, it didn't pass by him. He was like, you calling me a lie? Yes, it did pass by him. I said, no, it didn't. So he pushed me and I pushed him back. And before anything else could happen, he had pulled the gun and he shot me in my thigh first. And I ended up falling on the side of my bed on my
Mm-hmm.
knees. And he came around and he shot me in my back. Um, Once he hit my back, the feelings left and my legs left right then. A towel fell over my head, and I thought he was gonna shoot me a third time. Cause he was like, "Move the towel." I said, "Don't shoot me no more." He said, "Move the towel." I said, "Please don't shoot me no more." So at that point, this it's about at that time it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. So he ended up leaving out the room. I don't know what he did, but I was laying there and I was like, Lord, ain't nobody gonna find me or hear me or whatever, you know. And I snapped out of there and I started praying. I started calling my children names. Well, by that time, he came back in the room and he was like, "Oh, what we gonna do? What we gonna do about the kids?" You know. So now I got to play on his turf again because you just shot me twice. So I didn't know what bag he was gonna come out of again.
Right.
I love you. I was like, I love you too, you know. So he ended up getting on the bed, going to sleep. So once I heard him sleep, I crawled out of the bedroom, all the way out to the back, to my backyard. My mom lived behind me. I was trying to get over there to her house, but once I got a few steps from the back door, I ended up flipping over on my back, and I didn't know how to flip myself back over. So I just laid there. I don't know. I really don't know how long I laid there. I do know it started drizzling. Then all of a sudden I seen the lights flicking on and off. So I knew he had woke up and he was looking for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he saw me and he came out the door and he was like, "What you doing? I told you to lay there. You out here, your clothes all down. What you want somebody to think I done raped you or something? You got to get back in the house." I said, "Well, I can't move. You got to help me back in the house." He was like, "Well, I've been shot too." I said, "Well, you're gonna have to help me back in the house." So he dragged me back in the house, and I just told him, I said, "Just let me lay here." I was in the kitchen, and I was like, "Let me lay here." So he went on. He called his sister, and he told his sister what he did. She didn't call for any help. So he ended up he went in the refrigerator, drank some Hawaiian punch. He ended up going to the back. He came back up to the front. Then he got on the sofa and went to sleep again. So by this time, they started breaking. And I was like, what are we gonna do? I said, you know, when the children wake up, they're gonna come straight home. I said, I don't want them to see this. He was like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, I don't know. I said, I tell you what. I said, tell your sister, call your sister, tell her to call the ambulance. I said, not tell them it was a mistake. They ain't gonna believe that. They ain't gonna believe that. I said, yes, they are. I said, because that's what I'm gonna tell them. He said, okay, okay. So, mm, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take your time. I know this is a lot of time. Anytime you suffer trauma, period, um, you can be so far removed from it. occasionally. And then when you start recounting the story, it triggers the memory, but it also can trigger the emotions and everything that you've experienced behind it. And so it's tough. It's tough to share your story. And I've heard Lashundra, she shared this story numerous times. And if you will, I can speed up some of it for you if you want me to. But Lashundra was able to get the help that she needed. And unfortunately, from what she's already said, you had family members who were not, his family members who were not willing to even try to get her support. And what we can say today is Lashundra has her life. She has her life. And she has four beautiful, talented, athletic children. And I mean, I've been on the sidelines screaming for them, particularly in football, but just right there with them and watching them go to college. Oh my gosh. And to know that she had this experience, and she has been able to raise these four children. Now, the other part that, we can't see right now, but what we do know is Lashundra has been in a wheelchair ever since. Yeah. She has been in a wheelchair ever since, but she has been resilient. And she has been blessed to still be a single mother, raising her children and not letting this stop her. But Lashundra, if you could tell your younger self, or if you can tell someone else who sees this, what are some of the signs, and what is it that you could have, what do you think you could have done as far as looking for assistance, or what would you tell a family member who's watching this and they may know someone who's experienced it? What would you say?
Okay, so I feel like at the time, what I could have done, I wasn't aware
Mm-hmm.
at that time, so I didn't really know at that time. But now, um, I would tell my family members, my children, my friends, you know, you have to watch out for the controlling,
Mm-hmm.
the manipulation, the isolation,
Mm-hmm.
um, the jealousy,
Mm-hmm.
um, all those signs I didn't know until after I experienced it and I thought back and I'm like, okay, this is what it was. This is what you would call it. You know, I would tell them to reach out to someone.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to do it discreetly, so
Mm-hmm.
won't no harm come to you or your children or your family members. Um, they say we make up a safety plan to get
Right.
out.
Right. Like I said, Lashundra, I know this can be very hard, as you recount what happens. And I love that what you've shared is, now I know.
Yes.
Now I know what the signs are. I know what to look for, and to notify somebody about what is happening, because that breaks that isolation. And the reason the isolation is there is because the perpetrator doesn't want you to have the support that you need. That's the truth. They don't want you to have the support that you need, because then it means they won't be able to control you the way that they want to. So I loved you said reach out to people. Yes, there are agencies that are in our local area who are willing to help. So, for example, the YWCA has a crisis line. If you're in a situation and you need to get out and you need to get to confidential shelter, you can call them at 205-322-6000. 4878, and that's 205-322-HURT. You can call that number and get some assistance with escaping that situation. And also be connected to an advocate who can assist you with filing a petition for a protection order, making sure if you need an attorney, you may be able to get a free attorney so that you can have someone represent you for the hearing. If a divorce is needed, child support, all of that, they can assist you with that. And even if it's down to relocation, that is something that is available. And we have other connections within the community with other organizations, agencies that can assist victims and survivors of domestic violence. And Lashundra, thank you for being brave, for being resilient, sharing your story. She does this all the time. She's a walking and living testimony. And I'll share this quickly. I think as a couple of years ago, we did a vigil where we did a walk. And we did a walk in the number of blocks that a woman leaves before she leaves and returns, before she permanently leaves her abuser, which is 7 times. And in this case, we decided we were going to walk 7 blocks toward the vigil. The first time that we did this, first of all, it was so emotional, and everyone's spirit was just so high behind this. But Lashundra was a part of it. She comes rolling down the street. But part of her surprise for everyone is, Lashundra got up out of her wheelchair and she walked across what we were identifying as the finish line. She walked across. She had not told a lot of people that she had been working on walking again. So that was just awesome to see. But Lashundra, thank you for your resilience that you have. And thank you again to this church who continuously provides us the opportunity to share about domestic violence. We're honored and thankful for the opportunity.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much.
Well, thank y'all for sharing. This was just powerful. This was just an awesome testimony. And like Alexandria said, just of your strength. And you are an example that, we're strong enough that you can make it, that you can get out of it. And praise God that you were able to get out of this, alive. Let me ask y'all this, and I know y'all mentioned before that a lot of times it starts mentally. The abuse starts mental. What are some suggestions for some women out there who can combat the mental part of it? Any suggestions on that?
Well, you first have to be able to identify that is what is happening. Pay attention to the conversations that you have. Pay attention to the requests that are being made by that individual. And if it's an attempt to gain and maintain control, you notice that, you can't make decisions. You can never please, like Lashundra mentioned this, you can never please this person. And so you're constantly trying to be what they want you to be or behave in the way that they want you to behave. If the comments that are being made about you, your look, your intelligence, if it is contrary to what you believe about yourself, contrary to what you have been taught, if it makes you feel bad, if it makes you feel like you're, lower than the scum of the earth, however you want to call it, but if it makes you feel bad, then that's not healthy for you. And you could potentially be in a intimate partner violent relationship. But you've got to recognize that is what it is, and be willing, because I think sometimes what we do is, we may do as women is, I look at the fact that I may be single and I'm single at this age, or I'm single with this child, and I'm never going to get another relationship, or he makes a lot of money. Okay, but what is more important? Your life, or someone who is making money, but they make you feel horrible, or there's the risk of your life, or just versus your peace of mind. versus being able to make decisions for yourself. And you have to say, you know, hey, I want this or I want that. Um, be willing to stop it when you see it. Stop it when you see it. Crossing boundaries. You know, you said I won't do this, and then here you come with this person who um, crosses the boundary, and we don't enforce it, or we don't decide at that moment, you know, I'm sorry, this just doesn't work for me. This is not what I want, and cut that off. But we have to recognize it for what it is, and make a decision from there. Yeah.
Yes, Alexandria and First Lady. Um, I'm going to insert how I ended up
Mm-hmm.
getting help. Um, like I said, once he dragged me back in, and he called the sisters, then called for help. He ended up going to sleep, and like I said, by that time they started breaking, and I convinced him to call his sister and had his
Mm-hmm.
sister to call the ambulance, and she asked to speak to me, and she was like, "We're gonna stick to the story, okay?" I said, "Okay." So he grabbed the phone back and hung it up. So he was like, "Well, should I stay or should I go?" I said, "I don't know. Call your sister back and ask her." And he called her back, and she must have told him to leave. He ended up coming to the back room. I think he changed clothes. And before he left the phone by me. And when I
Mm-hmm.
heard the car pull off, I called my mom first, and my mom rushed over. Um, she stepped in praying, and then it kind of like got to her. So I ended up having to call 911 and explain to them what happened. So this happened about 1 o'clock that morning, and I ended up getting help about 8:30, about 8:30, 8:30,
Mm-hmm.
9 o'clock. I'm sorry. That morning, all I can say is God kept me. I didn't pass out not one time. I don't even remember seeing any blood. You know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe God was shielding me so I wouldn't see it, so I wouldn't freak out. You know, He kept me calm, and I think once I made it to the hospital, it was like a sigh of relief. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was just like, you know, and I was in the hospital, including rehab, total about 45 days. Because I was determined. I was determined to get out and determined to get back to my children. And at that time, they were 10, 9, 3, and 1. They are now, my oldest, he'll be 24 in November. My oldest daughter be 23 in December. My middle baby, she'll be 17 in December. And my baby girl just turned 15 in September. So God has really, really been blessing me and my family. You know,
Okay.
um, you can overcome it. You definitely can overcome it. And there are people that you can talk to, that you don't have to be ashamed, because some of us be ashamed, but you don't have to be, because you're not the only one that's going through the same thing. Your story may be different, but sum it all up is the same, you know. But I just refuse to just give up. Like they even in the wheelchair. It'll be 13 years in December. I've been in the wheelchair. So even in that wheelchair, I don't let that wheelchair define me. I define it. So I keep pushing. Do I get tired? Yes. Do I hurt? Yes. But I keep pushing. I had to just rearrange how I move,
Mm-hmm.
but I can move. You know, I have to do things a little different, but I can still do things. You know, so if you're in a situation, please reach out to the Y or the other organizations. Um, I have given people my number, and I have gotten calls from them, and I've tried to talk them, even if I talk them going all the way to the police station. I was just letting them know that I'm available for what you're going through, so you're not alone, and I'm gonna help you as much as I can, you know, but
Right.
to
There's
some
that
that
family.
God is
There's
good.
that family.
Right,
There's that family.
right.
Yes. There's that family.
Right, right. And so yeah, the same thing still stands. I'm here,
Yes,
you
definitely.
to give advice, to walk you through some steps or whatever it may be. I'm here.
Awesome.
And Sean, if I can interject something, don't know why things happen, but your testimony, the fact that you're helping other people,
Hmm.
similar situations. I mean, that's awesome. Some people would, clam into a shell and just, be like, whatever,
Mm.
this is the end. But you are still pushing. You're still empowering other people, other women. Um, you're still raising those four beautiful children who, like Alexandria said, they're athletic. I'm like, wow, but you ran track. Now I see where they got it from. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know where they got it from. I never knew that you ran track. No,
Yes, I ran track. Yeah, I
yeah.
was pretty fast too.
And then you talked about talking to your children, which Preston and I, we do that a lot, just educating them as far
Yes.
as the signs to look for, because even I'm thinking about when I was younger, no one ever told myself or my husband, I
Right.
don't think, just stuff about what to look for when you're dating. It's just
Yeah.
date, get married, have children. That's all you ever hear growing up,
Mhm.
but not
Mhm.
those
Hmm.
warning signs to
Right.
out for. I have one last question, and
Mhm.
Lashundra, and maybe it's for you. Um,
Okay.
and a lot of times I've heard that, hurt people. And a lot of
Mhm.
times
Hmm.
the abuser or the abused becomes the abuser. But you
Mhm.
are the opposite of that. You're raising great children. You seem like you're educating them. You're the total opposite. How can people prevent, and as you can chime in on this too, just how we can
Hmm.
prevent not being the abuser?
So I'm actually, my grandfather, um, he's deceased now. My grandfather was a preacher, so I've been in church all my life, and that foundation is what really helped me. That and talking about it. I think I started talking about it like once I came to, and people asked what happened, and I shared it. Like I'm like in the bank line. What happened? I tell them, where you at?
I know that right.
So I think that helped me a lot. Um, I do still have my days, but for the most part, I think I was fighting hard because I had my children was my inspiration to just fight so hard to get back, and I didn't want to be this person. I didn't want to be this person where I let it get me and I'm just here not doing anything. I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be the same person I was before it happened. I was a go getter, fun person, loving person, silly as I'll get out. And I wanted to keep that, you know. And I've saw cases where people may have been shot or whatever, and they was just like, no, I'm not going to therapy. I'm not doing nothing. On the
Hmm.
other hand, I was like, yeah, let's go. Okay, what I need to do, how I'm gonna do this. Okay, all right, I got it. I'm gonna show y'all. I got it. It was just that I'm gonna say my main get up was my children. I needed to get back to my children. And that was my main way of, I guess, coping with it. um
Mhm.
like I said, sometimes I have my days, but I talk about it all the time. And I think that helps too. I talk about it all the time.
Right.
Some people may need to go to counseling. They may not feel comfortable with talking to other people or whatever. They may want to go to counseling, and counseling can you know, help
Mhm.
them get through what it is they need to get through, so they don't become that person that did that to them. In my case, my ex-husband, he shared with me that his dad did the same thing to his mom, but his mom passed away. So that was a telltale sign too. Like when you're
It is.
dating, really get to
Mhm.
know who you're
It
dating and
is.
the family dynamic, their
Yes.
past, like what goes on. That is so important.
Yes.
I didn't realize how important that was. That is so important.
Mhm.
You got to know. You might not know everything, but
Right.
you got to get deep down in that. Not you got to go past the person you're dating and kind of look at the the family members sometimes,
Mhm.
because that could be telltale sign of what you may be getting into. You know,
Right.
not all the time, but you just
Mhm.
want to pay attention to details.
Right. It's something else you mentioned, Lashundra, about your relationship. She talked about how quickly the
Oh
relationship
yeah.
went from courting to or dating to moving into getting married.
Yeah.
But oftentimes that is a sign.
Yeah.
That is a sign that is a quick relationship. And
Mhm.
the way that I explain it to clients is quick because the perpetrator doesn't need for you to get to know them. They don't need for you,
Oh. And see,
you
I
know,
I
because
didn't I
I
didn't
can
now that's
only
something
keep
I
the
just
mask
learned
on for
today.
so long. I can
Right.
only keep the mask
Okay.
on for so long.
Wow.
And I need for this to happen quick. I need to gain her trust. I need for
Mhm.
her to be at bat for me because of our relationship. I need to show I'm committed in this
Mhm.
relationship early on so that
Mhm.
I can buy her in, basically. But I
Mhm.
think that,
Yeah.
to address what you were asking, First Lady Mason, about making sure we are not raising abusers.
Mhm.
One, with our children, it's once we know, once we know, and we understand what healthy relationships look like, we understand what domestic violence is. It's it's important and it's imperative as parents,
Mhm.
not anyone else, because don't be quick to put it off on a school system or
Right.
even the church or
Right.
whatever. But we are the first teachers.
Right.
We are the first teachers of our children, and therefore we should be teaching them about healthy relationships. We should be teaching them about boundaries. We should be instilling and affirming them as people, as persons who deserve respect, and how to respect our bodies, how to set those boundaries, how to enforce those boundaries, even if you have to go so far as to create scenarios
Mhm.
so that they have an opportunity to express how they are going to counteract that.
Mhm.
And being able to have support, like, and knowing who do I go to when I'm
Mhm.
experiencing these feelings. Who can I
Mhm.
go to if my mother isn't there, if my father isn't there? Who can I go to? And I think, the way that I was raised, nobody sat me down either. Like you were saying, no one
Right.
sat me
Right. Me
down to
either.
say,
Right.
this is what domestic violence looks like. Although my family was riddled in it. Okay, it was
Yeah.
riddled with it.
Yeah.
No one sat me down to say, this is what it looks like, but this is what's healthier. However, what I do know is they didn't know.
Right.
They didn't know. But
Right.
now we do know. It's
Right.
our job, it's our role to sit them down and to talk about it, and to say, if you're experiencing, um I guess, or exhibiting behavior like you are the abuser, or
Mhm.
if you are experiencing the abuse, we need to tell them, hey, this is who you can talk to. This is who you can go to. And if they're talking to you as a parent, then we need to seek the assistance for them that's needed so that they don't become abusers, that they don't become victims.
Right.
Yeah, it really is up to us.
Yeah. And it starts early. Like,
Right.
Little kids be dating and don't wear that, and oh, he loves me.
Right.
That I realize that little stuff right there.
Well, we can even go further back. Let's look at how when toddlers play with each other, and you
Mhm.
have the little boy, he's pushing on the little girl. Oh, he just likes her. No, no,
Right,
mm-mm.
right,
That's not acceptable. It's not
right,
acceptable because that is not how we show we like someone. That's not how
right,
right. That's not how we show that we're interested in someone. We should show the young man, the little girl, we should be showing them, okay, how can we play along together? How can we
right,
have good conversation? How can I share my food with you? How can I share my toy with
right,
you? So
right,
it's starting when they are really in the womb, to be honest. But then when they come out into this world, it's up to us to groom them so that they can love and honor and respect every other human being, period,
yeah,
for who they are, and teaching them to be independent and make decisions based off of what they want. And that can be different for parents too, because even in our own households, we sometimes don't want the children to have an opinion, but they should.
right,
And they should be taught how to respectfully give their opinion.
right, mm-hmm.
They should be given that opportunity. And some of our older Black homes, I can say, that opportunity is often not given.
Right,
But there is a way we should teach our children how to state their opinions, and teach them how to provide validation for it.
yeah,
Say, well, let me explain. I believe yes. Well, tell me why, and give them
mm-hmm.
the opportunity to tell you why,
Right, mm-hmm.
and let them be included in on some of that decision making based off their opinions. So
Right,
they need that. They definitely need
right,
that.
mm-hmm. And that's what I had to learn with my kids. So now we have the back and forth conversations.
Yes, that's
um,
good.
they feel comfortable with coming to me about anything now, because it's not that, back then you couldn't really say anything. You just like, it's what they say and that's it.
Yeah.
Whether they
Mhm.
right or whether they wrong.
Yeah.
But now, I saw that and I wanted to choose a different route. And like, okay,
Mhm.
I apologize because I was wrong. Yes, I apologize to my kids when I'm wrong.
Yes,
That
that's good.
a sign of trust. So they can come to you and
Mhm.
talk to you about
That's
anything.
good. That's good.
Hmm.
It's really good.
And,
Mhm.
and another myth, what goes on in this house stays in this house. We need to stop that
Oh,
Oh
yes.
yes, yes,
too.
yes.
That's another segment for another time. But really, yeah,
Yes.
Right.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Whole nother conversation.
Right.
Conversation. And that's why people suffer in silence.
That's right.
That's why people suffer in silence.
Right.
Yeah, we have to give voice. Starting with the children, we have to give voice.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
well, ladies, this has been awesome. I was like, I'm looking at time. I'm like, this is really so good conversation. But
Yeah.
can you tell us again, just if somebody needs some support, the numbers they can
Mm-hmm.
call, even just somebody to talk to who don't have that family support? Can you give the viewers some numbers or some websites they can have access to?
Yes. Definitely, for sure. If you are in a situation and you need to get to confidential emergency shelter, you can call the YWCA's crisis line 205-322-4878. And that's 322 HURT. And that's the crisis line number. You can also check us out. We're on social media. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Twitter as well. You can also check out our website, ywca.org. bham.org, where you can find lots of information about not only domestic violence, but about different services that we offer to our community, as well as some of our partners as well. We have the luxury of being in partnership with One Place Family Justice Center here in Birmingham, and it's literally like a one-stop shop. If you are experiencing some type of physical violence, for sure, particularly with strangulation, they have the capability of having a medical exam done on site. There's a sane nurse there that can walk you through the process, but we also have our advocates are there. There's a prosecutor on site. There's law enforcement on site. And instead of you having to tell your story 50 million times for the different agencies, they all can meet with you at one time and get the story that they need in order to help you navigate what your journey needs to look like, as well as receive the medical attention that you need as well. But it just, the family's here. The family is here to help in any way we can, and we thank God for advocates like Lashundra, who is not keeping silent about her experience, but is reaching out to tell her experience, and then being able to try to support others through theirs. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ladies. Thank y'all so much. This has been so
Thank you.
Thank
supporting,
you.
so informational. And so, viewers, of course, share this with your family and friends. Share this with someone that you know could benefit from it. Make sure you guys stay tuned next week. We're going to be talking about breast cancer wellness. We have a representative from the UAB Comprehensive Center and also a breast cancer survivor. So we're going to have two speakers on next week. And so thank you guys. Thank y'all, Alexandria and Lashundra, just for being
No,
so
thank you.
available, for
Thank
being
you.
open and being willing to do this. Birmingham Bible Church thanks you. Pastor Mason thanks you. And so thank you so much for your openness to give us this information. And so, as we always like to say to all of our viewers, we always like to bring you just some valuable information every Wednesday to encourage you, to enlighten you, and to educate you on the topics pertaining to your life and to your living and to your well being. So, of course, make sure you share this information. And so, of course, we will see you all next time. Until then, be blessed. And thank you so much once again, Alexandria and Lashundra. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great rest of
you.
your Wednesday. Thank you, guys.